everyone, today I'm gonna do my April wrap-up. April seemed like such a long month for me. If I think about all of the books that I've read and some of the things that happened in this month, it feels like that was forever ago. And some of the books I read in the beginning of the month seemed forever ago. I had an interesting reading month because this was actually the first time this year that I really felt satisfied with the reading that I did as far as the amount of books that I read. This was the first time where I was actually like actively reading again and really bringing it back into my routine and really prioritizing it again, and it feels so good. But I have to say, I did not have the best reading month in regards to like my opinions of these books. Now I gotta say, I cannot complain. I think the average rating would probably still be fine because there wasn't any 2 or 1 star books this month, but there were so many 3-star books. Anyway, we have 11 books to go through, so I shouldn't even be doing this big monologue. Let's get into it. I think that looked really weird when it just was kind of random in the frame. I'm drinking because it's starting to get to this part where it's gonna be too hot to film. I'm not looking forward to it at all. First this month I read Obsidio by Amy Kaufman and Jake Christoph. This is the third and final book in the Illumina Files trilogy, and I'm one of those people that really enjoyed this trilogy but definitely thinks it's a little bit overrated, and Obsidio definitely just kind of confirmed that for me. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, so I really liked it. I think a lot of people hype this up as this amazing sci-fi series, but it's just not. It's like very enjoyable and it's just very nice to consume because of its different formats, but it's really nothing that kind of stands out in the genre itself. I mean, not that I've read a lot of it. I think what really pisses me off about this is that they keep killing off characters that they are not actually killing off. It makes me so annoyed because especially in Obsidio, I was not scared for a second when something happened to these characters because at this point I knew. It seems like they are trying to like collect the candies for doing this brave thing when they are not actually doing it, and I quite frankly just find it really, really fucking annoying. Like, really fucking annoying. Don't do it over and over again to the point where your readers are not even worried anymore. That's just not working for me. Can you imagine reading this whole story in a completely normal format? I can't. I think I'd find it boring as shit. This one also, oh yeah, almost forgot. You know, this is a little bit like the third book in the Miss Peregrine's trilogy, where you could tell that Ransom Riggs was just like, ooh, trying really hard to find like creepy pictures to include and make the story fit. Same with this one. There was so much like video footage. I was like, you're out of ideas what to do with your format. So yeah, as I said, 4 out of 5 stars. I'm just mad about a couple of things, but I still found it really enjoyable. Next, I read Beneath the Sugar Sky by Shauna McGuire, and I just have come to terms with the fact that I will probably never love this series. It's just not the series for me, I guess. I find all of these books enjoyable, and I listened to this one on audiobook also, just as Down Among the Sticks and Bones. And they are really easy to get through, and it's definitely enjoyable to listen to them, and I will continue listening to them if I have access to the audiobooks, but I just cannot seem to find the connection to it that everybody else seems to have, and so I think this will probably be a mediocre series for me. One day there might be one book that like really hits me hard in the feels. For now I feel mediocre about it, and I gave Beneath the Sugar Sky 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next I read Nice Try Jane Sinner by Leanne Olke. I wanted to look up how to pronounce her name. I forgot. This is a YA contemporary novel that I was really, really looking forward to because it is about a girl named Jane, obviously, and she's trying to get through her final year in high school, and like, I don't know how the logistics work with this because I'm a German, so I don't have any idea how in the US that works, but somehow she goes to a college to finish her final year in high school. I never quite understood how that worked. But anyway, she moves into this kind of big brother house because she really wants to move out from home, and so this is kind of her only option because it's cheap. And then we kind of see her year unfold, kind of see the relationships she has with the people that she moved in with, and it also deals with her depression. I was excited for this book book mainly for the representation, but also because I think that is such a unique format. Like, I don't think I've ever had a YA book before where the protagonist was basically kind of that in Big Brother. And I have to say, I ended up being a little bit disappointed. It wasn't a bad book by any means. It was just another one of those books where I had just like a lot of like tiny issues, and all of them came together to make kind of a mediocre book. I definitely think, as I said, very unique idea, but this book was, I think, supposed to be funny, and I didn't find anything about it funny, which is obviously very, very subjective. I know there's a lot of people that found it hilarious, but I did not find it funny whatsoever. I guess it's just not my humor. Maybe I wasn't in the mood. I can't say. I just know that I did not find it funny at all, which I'm pretty sure lowered a lot of my enjoyment. I think Jane is not supposed to be likable as a character, but there's a difference between realizing, oh, this character is not supposed to be likable, but I still find it interesting to follow this character's storyline, and just, I don't care about this character. And that's kind of what happened for me with Jane. I can't really say what it is. I guess it also has to do with the humor. I think some of the format was really not helpful with how we perceive Jane as a person. I also am still not sure how I feel about the portrayal of depression personally. That is not to say that I think it's a bad representation in general. I just personally think that the way it was represented was one of the issues that I personally had with the book. I thought a lot of the side characters were really interesting, but like one of the main side characters, basically Jane's love interest, was not someone I liked, and I didn't like their relationship, although I have to say this is another one. I think overall there were a lot of interesting, complex relationships described in this novel. The relationship that Jane has to her parents, the relationship that Jane has to her sister, and just, I think there were a lot of interesting things in here, and it's definitely a novel that I would still recommend if you're interested in it. For me, it just didn't quite hit the things that I wanted it to hit, and so I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Reign of the Fallen by Sarah Glenn Marsh. This is a YA fantasy and another book that I was really, really looking forward to, and I'm so happy that I finally managed to read it. This is about necromancy. There is a female-female romance in there, and the main character is bisexual, and it's like very much on the page. Like, I don't think she uses bi because I don't think these terms exist, but it's like very much there and very obvious that she is bi. And in general, this just really seemed like one of those worlds that's like very not heteronormative, so I really enjoyed that. And I also just really loved a lot of the characters. I think the main character was great. I thought that there were really, really interesting things here about grief and substance abuse and even like suicidal thoughts. So also huge trigger warnings for that. And this is something I don't think I've ever read in any fantasy, and especially not in any YA fantasy. I definitely think this is an aspect where this book totally stands out and is absolutely worth the read. I appreciated this so much because, like, in general, substance abuse, I think, does not get talked about enough in YA, and I think it's very much a fact that a lot of people try to ignore. Like, it doesn't happen for teens and young adults, or, you know, like, it is something that would encourage them, which I think is actually the absolute opposite. But anyway, I just really appreciated that about the novel, and I think it was very well done. As I said, like, the general grief aspect I think was so great, but also another thing very hard to read about sometimes. I also thought, like, basically all of the side characters were really amazing. I wish the romance had been a little bit more fleshed out. I really liked the two characters, like the two kind of characters that develop a romance throughout this novel. I really liked them from the beginning. So I saw every little thing and I got excited, but I just don't really think that there was enough to really make this a believable romance. And especially considering the end, yeah, I just wish there had been more on the romance. Other than that, I think the storyline was kind of boring. I think the world building was interesting, but another thing that I didn't really feel engaged in. I just didn't really crave to find out more about it. And same with the storyline. Like, I really did not feel very motivated to pick this up most of the time. Like, I really kind of continued reading it for the characters because I enjoyed them so much, but there was never anything kind of calling me to this book. So overall, I definitely enjoyed it. I definitely recommend it if you're looking for a YA fantasy with a bisexual main character and with a female-female romance. But for me, it's not something that I think I will remember very much, and probably not something that I will read the sequel to. I feel like this is one of those books that's gonna be very forgettable for me, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next, I read All of This Is True by Ligia de Penneflor, and this is an arc that I received through Edelweiss, and I already did a full-length review on it that I'm gonna leave in the info card and in the description down below. This is a YA mystery / thriller, and the storyline is definitely very interesting and very unique because it is about this group of friends and they befriend an author, and this author kind of starts being heavily inspired by this kind of friend group's lives. And in this story, we kind of unravel what happened through interviews, and that's like one of my favorite aspects of the novel. We get like different formats from different point of views to kind of explain what happened. So as I said, there's interviews, and then there's one character who decided to publish her diary entries. Then we obviously get, you know, the fictional book that was actually written. And just all of these things come together to make for a very, very interesting, enjoyable reading experience and a very easy read. Like, I would have read it in one sitting if I had the time to do so. There were so many layers to this that I really, really enjoyed, but then at the end I felt like there was no real payoff to it. And so ultimately I did end up being disappointed, even though I enjoyed the overall journey. I definitely was also missing like a twist, like a twisty twist, because like this is another one that I was expecting, but then like it was nothing. So when you finish these kinds of books and there's not the plot twist that you were expecting, that can be very disappointing. But as I said, I can still look at it and be like, oh yeah, I enjoyed it overall. I just wish there had been a better payoff. I also feel like a lot more could have been done with these characters. They seemed kind of flat, which was very much lost potential. So yeah, overall, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I think I do recommend this to people who are kind of trying to get into the genre a little bit more. Other than that, I don't know. Then I listened to the audiobook of The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, and this is actually one of those books that was just available on Overdrive, and I was like, might as well listen to it. I had never planned on reading The Cruel Prince. This book got so much hype long before its release already. Like, a lot of my friends were really, really loving it. I was sure I wouldn't really like it because I'm not really much into fae, and I think Holly Black is kind of very well known for her fae, and I knew this book was about that, and I just don't really enjoy that. So, you know, I had never planned on reading it, but definitely the good reviews had me intrigued. So knowing I could get the audiobook, I was like, okay, I'll just try it. And I ended up being pleasantly surprised. I do have to say, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars because it's still not an amazing book for me, but I have to say, thinking about the expectations that I had going into this, I still think I got a very positive reading experience out of it. And I definitely did not feel like I wasted my time. I definitely feel like I wanna not read, but listen to the sequel. And yeah, I mean, I finally read a book by Holly Black, which I feel like that's already worth it. I am so happy for everybody who loves this, and I see where you're coming from. Then I read Onyx and Ivory by Mindy Arnett. This is another arc that I got through Edelweiss, and the full review for it will come out on Friday. I really enjoyed this. You know, it was this kind of YA fantasy that I really enjoy. It's a very generic kind of YA fantasy. I could not really say that this is something that I would recommend if you're looking for something new in the genre, but it's also the kind of YA fantasy that I just really, really enjoy. My favorite part of this novel were definitely the characters. I think they were really, really wonderful. As I said, everything else was kind of generic. I think, you know, the pacing was a little bit slow at times. The world building was okay. Like, everything else was okay, but the characters, I really, really love them. In some aspects, this actually reminded me of Fire by Christine Cashore. It's not nearly as good, like, not at all. But I think if you enjoy the world building in Fire, then this might be a book that you would enjoy too. I think it had a lot of subtle similarities. I ended up giving Onyx and Ivory 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read my favorite book of the month, and that is Dumplin' by Julie Murphy, and I could not be happier because if you've been here for a while, Ramona Blue by Julie Murphy was one of my favorite books of last year and is one of my favorite books of all time, and I cherish that book so much. So reading Dumplin', I was excited, but I did not at all go into it thinking this would be such an amazing read for me. But I loved it so much. Like, this is a very simple YA contemporary. I think the thing that kind of stands out most about it is that it has a fat main character. That's kind of definitely a story that we still don't see enough of in YA specifically. But I love this so much. Willow Dean is an absolutely... I'm getting emotional, guys. Are you surprised? I'm not. I just genuinely love this book so much, and I was like laughing throughout it. I was like shocked throughout it. Like, you can actually ask my friend. I read some bits of it in school, and I was kind of lying down like, and then I gasped, and I was like, what is happening? And I was like so emotionally invested in this book. Julie Murphy's writing is just something that really gets me and that really, really speaks to my soul. And Dumplin' absolutely 100% confirmed this. What I definitely want to say about this one is that there is fat phobia in this book, mostly coming from Willow Dean's mom. Now, I appreciate what she did with it, because like Willow Dean is very, very comfortable in her skin and she's very comfortable with how she looks. Obviously, she has like doubts sometimes, as everybody has, whatever size, but you know, like also very specific doubts regarding her being fat. But she does stand up to her mom quite a lot. And I think it's not always easy to read, but I, as I said, really appreciate it. I think coming from an own voices author, it makes a lot of sense. Everybody's experiences are different, and this is one of the things where I did not deem this problematic at all. I just deemed it realistic, and so I really think it was very, very well done, and I think it was something that a lot of people will probably be able to relate to. This also had a wonderful, fluffy romance. I like the aspect of, you know, Willow Dean kind of being with a guy, and then this didn't really work, and so she dates another guy, but then she, you know, cannot really forget the other guy, and it's just, I like that it's not just this one guy. I don't know, I feel like a lot of the times in YA, it's like this thinking of there's only this one guy. And for Willow Dean, it's also kind of the way it is, but she tries, you know, and I just, I don't know, I loved so much about this novel. I wouldn't even know where to begin listing all of the things. I just love Julie Murphy so much, and I'd highly recommend Dumplin'. I gave Dumplin' 5 out of 5 stars. Then I read Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli. This is Becky Albertalli's newest novel that just came out, and I was so excited to read it because I love Becky Albertalli and I specifically love Leah. I really appreciated Leah in Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, so I have been excited since this was announced because I could not wait to read from Leah's perspective. And also Becky Albertalli had already stated that Leah is bi. I am so sad to say that I ended up being a little bit disappointed. I still love Leah, I still think she is amazing, and I still relate to so many things about her and so many things that she says, but I just wasn't really thrilled with the overall storyline. And I think my biggest issue was actually that I wasn't really thrilled with the romance in this book. It is a female-female romance, which I think, you know, was kind of the thing we've been all waiting for. Like, is it gonna be a female-female romance? And it is, but I just did not really feel the pairing that we got in this one. I just did not really get into it. I just did not really think that this romantic relationship was fleshed out enough. I don't know, I have such a hard time talking about this and explaining why I didn't love this, because as I said, I still loved Leah. I mean, the biggest obvious thing is that I was just not emotionally invested at all. Whereas, you know, Dumplin', like, it made me laugh, it made me cry, and I was so into it and so feeling it. This did nothing, like none of these things. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It was still very enjoyable. As I said, I still love Leah, but I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, I just don't know. And then I read Puddin' by Julie Murphy. This is a companion sequel to Dumplin'. I don't think you necessarily have to have read Dumplin', but honestly, I don't know why you wouldn't want to read Dumplin' if you want to read Puddin'. Both of them are great. This is another arc that I got, by the way. I'm probably not gonna do a video review on it, just as a disclaimer. This is an arc that I got. And I love this as well. Not quite as much as Dumplin', I have to say, but this was just another book that had so many great things. It was actually told from 2 point of views. I like the difference in the point of views. Both of them are not friends with Willow Dean, but are in Willow Dean's social circle. One of them is Millie, and she is also fat. And then the other character, Kelly, she is Mexican, so we have kind of these representations for both of them. Both of them have really great, fluffy romances. Kelly especially has amazing character development that I really, really appreciated, and that was very intense but felt very realistic. It had some really great friendship aspects in here. I think while I love the fluffy romances, obviously, I think the friendships were my favorite part, and just the general developments. This was just so good, and it was so much about like friendship and how it can influence you and influence your life, and how much it can change about you and your confidence, and yeah. I love Julie Murphy so fucking much. And finally this month, I'm sweating. I read Daughter of the Siren Queen by Trisha Levenseller. This is the second and final book in the Daughter of the Pirate King duology. Obviously, if it's too hard to think, okay? I absolutely loved Daughter of the Pirate King, and I also really loved Daughter of the Siren Queen. I just love the main character. I love all of the side characters. I love the storylines. I love the romance. Oh my god, so much. Oh, this was so slow burn. I'm pretty sure at one point it actually killed me, but so good. I cannot wait to read more by Trisha Levenseller. This is a fluffy read for me, and I know for sure I will return to this whenever I need a comfort read, but it's so violent. I think these covers, both of them, they make you think it's maybe like, you know, how is it called? Lower YA, I guess, but the violence in it is very, very intense. Like, at one point in this book, a hand gets cut off. I definitely just want to say that this is one of those YA books that is not scared to go there. I appreciate it, but for me, for some reason, it's still a fluffy read. As I said, it's gonna be a comfort read when I need it. I have not yet 100% decided if this is a 4 or 4.5 stars. All I know is that I love this duology so much, and I would highly recommend it. I'm so happy that these books made it into my life, and yeah, I just love it. Anyway, this is everything that I read in April. I'm just gonna end it right here, not say anything else. Just let me know any of your thoughts on any of these books. It's been a long time, oh my god, and thank you so much for watching. I guess I'll see you soon. Bye!